Hello and welcome to Hero Mode Audio Chronicles, episode 26. I'm your host, Curtis Hunt, and this evening is going to be a bit of a different episode. It's just me today, and I think this gives me a chance to kind of slow things down a bit and let you guys know kind of what we're all about. I mean, we just kind of, most of these episodes have just been us shooting the shit, talking about what's going on, but I don't know if I've spent a lot of time or really expressly said what Hero Mode's all about. So, I'll just talk a little bit about why I decided to start it. So, I've been working in creative industry for a while now. I think it's close to about 10 years. I went to school for animation. First, I was actually deciding between if I want to do film or any kind of industry that involved telling a story. But the truth of the matter was, like, I'd grown up my whole life drawing, like, ever since I could hold a pencil, I've been drawing cartoons, characters, big fan of, like, you know, Ninja Turtles and everything's come up. I mean, I've been playing games and all this, but, like, it's been my entire life. So when it came time to choose a career, it started to make more sense to look at an industry that let me take that and move it forward, or at least let me take that asset and make use of it. And since my main focus was still just really telling stories, I decided on animation. Because it made the most logical sense. I needed the least amount of people and things around me to tell a story. If I wanted to have fantastic universes and crazy characters, which is something I was a big fan of, animation gave it immediately. If I could draw it, I could do it, and that was the bottom line. I didn't need to worry about a camera crew, lights, you know, funding for a whole team to set up shots all days and schedule, you know. I could just sit and do it myself. But I mean, and that's kind of exactly where we are right now. We're working through getting some projects going, and this has been something I've tried many times over the years with different people at different times to try and start doing some independent content. But it's only been in these last few years that I've been able to write stories that have kept my interest for longer than a month or two, and that I really could sink into and dig and do some real world building, which is another thing that I just love, developing universes and worlds so much. So the other part is, like, I've been like I said, I've been working in these industries, like, from advertising. Yeah, so out of school I went from school for 2D 3D animation, which also taught me some, you know, editing and graphic design skills. So I had just enough knowledge to break my way into advertising, and after spending some time there and, you know, really being tested on some different levels that I'm glad that I've gone through and rose to the challenge now. But we're definitely fun and hard at the same time. But after that gave me enough work experience, I'm guessing, to you know, give me the chance to break into animation with the Fat Cat Animation. Was a big studio that kicked up in New Brunswick. Gene Fowler put together a pretty amazing studio, and what he managed to pull off is still, like, to me, amazing. Like, I feel like I've been so lucky to hook into the jobs that I've managed to find, because I've always managed to hit salary and been steadily employed ever since I've started. I don't think I've actually been unemployed for a week or even a day. And really, for Atlantic Canada and for an animator with like really no major credentials, it's been pretty crazy. But, you know, fucking still going. So yeah, from at the time of Fat Cat, I mean, it was a huge place. I think I was just lucky because they were hauling in so many people. They had such a huge demand with these big projects, and I was lucky enough to slip through the cracks and get my way in, because I really don't think I was qualified to be a full-fledged animator at that point. But fuck, I mean, I rose to it, right? I did it, and it was fun. Met a lot of great people. That place left an impression on me about how you can really make what you want happen, and you can make an environment custom that, you know, you don't need to fit to some corporate punch clock mold. Things can be the way you want, and you can make it work. Now, I mean, and people say, Fat Cat went down, but I don't believe it was because of the work ethic and the environment. I think it just comes down to, like any business, just mistakes in certain places can cost certain things. But yeah, from that place, which was great, another crazy opportunity came up, and I managed to come back to my home province and start developing games with a pretty big studio. Or at least it was relatively unknown to most people, but if you really pay attention to, if you knew all the roots of this company, they were in charge of, or they were responsible for over 50% of the games on Xbox Live at one point, and pioneered some games on mobile devices, and are still right now pioneering in areas that just people aren't aware, which I think is pretty cool. I managed to get back home, start working in games, and I've been here for 7 to 8 years now, just developing at a small scale studio. Not to say that the overall operation is small, because it's in several locations at one point. So it's a big network, and we've got some pretty crazy stuff going on. But all that time and across those three industries is what's given me what I feel is like a unique tool set to be able to create content and deliver it with a market sensibility that I don't think a lot of creators have, and if they do, they're already outdoing what I'm planning on doing. Because it's one thing to be an animator, but it's another thing to be an advertiser and market your content and understand the structure of the business and try and outthink it and try and get ahead, as well as presenting an underlying message with your overall narrative across all your content fronts. And that's a little bit of the kind of things that I'm trying to work in the Hero Mode stuff. So moving ahead, I'm hoping that the fans that are with us for a long time will be able to see all the little secrets that pop up in here in different places. And, original content is the name of the game. Let me talk a little bit about what we hope to do in literal sense in the next little while, the projects that I'm hoping will come to light pretty quickly. The first is our major game release, our first major one. This is a free title. It is ad-driven, so if you're not a fan of ad-driven games, I understand if you don't want to play it. But I would advise you to at least try it, because it's not like most ad-driven games. The way I've built this thing is specifically structured to be favorable to hardcore gamers, so the better you are at this game, the least you have to fuck with any ads or anything. Like, it rewards good play, and even still, if you're not a good player, you still don't have to fuck with the ads, really, only if you want to get a little boost to make things a bit easier to get ahead. Then you can, watch a few ads. So you almost think of like, it's a semi-arcade structure, the way I've tried to set it up. So it's like playing a simple arcade game with a linear end where there's objectives. It's not infinite like all these other, money vampire setups where, they're just waiting for a whale to spend $100 or a kid that doesn't realize he's spending money on it. But this is there's no way for anyone to spend money, in this app accidentally or anything like that. Because I don't want to build an intrusive app. I want something that it's more like a toy that you can play with at any time, or like a movie or a little comic book. But if you want to play with a little extra bonus, a little easier, or really only if you're really kind of not super good at the game do you even need to consider watching these extra ads, or if you're trying to get through all in one run. So it's kind of like, it's an arcade style game where if you die, instead of you paying a quarter out of your pocket to play again, you tap an advertiser and he flips you the quarter to play again, continue the game. Because otherwise, you can start the game over, and that's still free. So it's more of a challenge, and I want people to really fight for it. I think I'm going to try and do a leaderboard for overall completion time or overall amount of deaths in a run. But I'm playing with that idea. That might come in an update past the first launch because I do want to get this game out fucking soon. And not for any reason other than I can't wait to start the next game, which I'll even announce the title and the character now. The next game after Jaro in the Vandal Chain series will be Naz, the Wizard Imperator. And that's all I'll say for now as a title, but if you stay tuned to the website and check up on the Vandal Chain comic pretty regularly, you might be able to spot him ahead of time before he goes live in the game. Same thing with Jaro. If you're watching Vandal Chain, and if you're keen-eyed enough to be looking at the cover, the preview banner, you might notice that the guy on the front dodging the punch fire blast is Jaro. So all these characters are living in a persistent universe, and we're viewing it through different mediums. So yeah, keep your eye out for Naz. And just like I said as well, I mentioned there the Vandal Chain series. Keep up on the website to see the comic book. I'm really hoping to get some of that up soon, but and I've got a lot done. I think I got at least 16, 17 pages penciled and ready to go, but I need to get them painted. I don't want to just throw up the pencils just black and white. I want to do some color, and I'm thinking about I might even reach out to some peoples for some colors, but I'm not sure because don't want to take up other people's time, and our budgets are nil at the moment. So put more on my back, but that's the name of the game right now. Hero up, fucking put it out. So yeah, and that's part of it too. Is even the way I mentioned earlier, my experience through these other industries is kind of what's equipped me with the ability to take something from all stages. I can take it from pre-production to production to post to market to advertising, and it's great to be able to control that vision from concept to delivery, which is a big reason why I'm trying to do these things on my own, because I mean, I've worked in the professional sense with a client's intellectual property, and that's been an experience in itself, and it's been great. But I guess it's just I'm a bit of a nerd and a control freak when it comes to storytelling. I just really want to tell my own style stories. I guess I've got more of an idea of the kind of things that I want said and the messages that I want portrayed. And for me, that goes a long way into why, again, I'm doing these things. I'm working so hard to try and make these things happen independently, is because I want to keep the messages clear and I want to keep the ideas concise. And that gets really hard in a professional sense, But that's the name of the game too. It's not your own thing. You got to respect everyone's ideas around you and understand that it is a collaborative process, and that's fine. But it just doesn't change the fact that I still want to tell my stories as well. So while I can still enjoy the collaborative work and the experience of new markets and evolving with, coworkers, it's been great to then take that and apply to my own structure and see the differences and enjoy and also suffer as well the differences. Like, certain aspects are a lot easier accomplished when you do have a couple of professionals waiting in the wings that could just throw down and get it done. But when it's all on your back, things move a lot slower. But yeah, it's look forward to our content rolling out. After the game, of course, our first major cartoon series, Chomtar, is going to be launching. And also, I'm hoping to get some games for that out. That's why I said the second game. When I mentioned Naz, I only said it was the second game in the Vandal Chain series, because we might actually have other games out between that. I'm looking at the Vandal Chain series as almost like, obviously it's not a AAA game, but for our levels of production right now, it's almost considered the AAA. So whereas I'm looking at the Chamtar first couple of games a little bit more loose, a little bit more fun, even more arcadey in a sense, because it won't be this like in Jaro. There's going to be a big overarching story and like major acts and cinematics and stuff. And you know, while I'll still have cinematics and stuff in Chamtar, the production is not as hardcore just through the design, because I've designed Chamtar to be production friendly and just very more of a graphic style with simple colors and shapes and big hard lines. And Jaro is more the high execution, you know, comic. Really, goes back to my like original inspiration of like Image Comics growing up, which is probably the biggest inspiration for most of my art style. And if it's for comic and concept art anyway. When animation comes, like you look at Chamtar, you wouldn't say it's Image Comics or anything. But as far as animation goes, it's all Ralph Bakshi, you know, and John Kay, all these, you know, old like more adult oriented animation pioneers. Because I feel like I could easily take these productions to more of a mass market appeal. That's again not why we're interested in doing independent content. I'm not looking for any kind of market advantage, you know, from analytics or trying to second guess the trends and where they're headed. I'm more interested in telling just unique stories, because I feel right now the only way to go is to trust myself as the barometer for what's good, what's bad, what's funny. And just really trust that and ignore. Now, I mean, while, you know, feedback is important and I need to get everyone's, I like to get people's takes and ideas, I still need to be really careful in how that's filtered in and out, because, you know, I've seen so many projects just get kind of pulled to a stasis or a kind of a locked state of certain parts pulling in different directions and leaving this very uncertain space that ends up collapsing at some point in production. But again, this is, you know, why I enjoy taking it so slow and examining the entire pipeline from start to finish myself, because I've already done, like, Chamtar has one episode animated and done, but it's not going to be coming out. It was our kind of test pilot. It might come out way later on in some kind of bonus thing, but it's not going to be released as main content for the show. But it showed me a lot of holes in our production line. So now it's being revamped, and we're looking at different ways to execute on things. And to me, that was really important. I'm not looking to jump the gun. I want to really produce quality work, because I think that's, again, important. I love this new medium of just web content, free. I don't mind the major media's kind of portrayal or attitude towards all this free media as if it's like this second-rate, you know, non-content. I mean, they have to realize where the audience's eyes are, and I think it's just a revolution in creative control, so that now content can be king again. It's not about the advertising dollar. It's not about the market dollar deciding what gets the most airplay. It's the market decides what is the most valuable. Just the content will always be king, and I think that's important. It's just like, to me, it's the difference of how fighters have developed with UFC versus fighters developing in boxing. Like, you know, with boxing, it's all about the promoter controlling the challenge. You know, who's going to get in the primetime slot on Fox on 9:30? Well, whatever fucking project we think we're going to pull the most money with. Not what's the best show, what do we think is actually, like, says what our station wants to represent, what we think is good comedy. It's about the dollar. Whereas, so to me, that's like a boxing promoter setting up a fight. Like, oh well, who's my champ going up against? Someone, we're not gonna fucking lose our belts and shit. And if we're putting our belts up, we're getting some fucking bank and shit. Whereas UFC's always like, we're taking the best guy and we're putting him against the other best guy. They're both undefeated, and someone's not going to be undefeated tomorrow. And that's it. The best's going to fight the best and evolve the sport. And I think you're seeing so much more of a rapid development in the talent pool in the UFC because of that. And by that same token, is how I look at web content and free content. It develops by itself. It's becoming so fucking fast and lethal. Like, look at David Cho's fucking micro series on, I can't remember what it's called now, but this weird, like, crazy story that him and his buddies improv where he's like dressed like the devil and he's his buddy's father, and there's this naked chick with a cape and she's the mother, but there's this weird, like, so all 15-second videos on Vine, and it's a series. I think that's genius. He's looking at the current media trends of like the way the content's delivered, and just delivering hardcore content the way he does. Like David Cho just brings that blunt statement and just like, I don't give a fuck, and here it goes. And he knows that you can do whatever you fuck and want on that service, so he hits it, he nails it, and it's fucking cool as shit. So I this is the stuff I want to really explore. I want to look at the ways new media is being developed and how we can mix and cross it, and I want to look at the entire way you experience media as a like device that you peer into this universe with. So the Hero Mode universe and all its content is persistently developing, and you're using these different media sources to peek into it at different points in different filtered manners. So yeah, that's a lot of what's on the go, and I guess that's pretty much it. I mean, check us out, theheromode.com. Pretty soon we're going to have also heromode.net, as it'll just direct you to the same website, but that same domain. So theheromode.com. Check us out regularly. Subscribe to us on iTunes with the HMAC, the Hero Mode Audio Chronicles. Jump into our TeePublic store and grab yourself a shirt or a sweater or some shit. Subscribe to us on Twitter at it's at Hero Mode. Just all one word, at Hero Mode. And check us out on Facebook. So until next time, hero up, motherfucker.